It's Halloween, a time for terror, horror, and scary games. No, not this one though. That one's been overdone to hell, I'm afraid. But I find these days that we gamers tend to forget all the horror games from the past. We're too focused on games like Amnesia and all of their first-person horror clones to really remember the games from the past that sent a chill up our spines. And today, for this occasion, I'd like to tackle a very special game that I remember as a kid but never actually got to play. A game about prison, horror and gore. A game that I couldn't buy simply for the fact that I was too young and I was too impressionable as a child. And it was in all the magazines in the UK and US for the original Xbox, and it's called The Suffering.
Made in 2004 by Surreal Software and published by Midway for PlayStation 2, Windows PC and Xbox, The Suffering puts players in the shoes, or lack of them I guess, of Torque, a death row prisoner sentenced for the alleged murder of his wife and 2 children. Claiming he blacked out during their murder, he is sentenced to Abbott State Penitentiary on Carnate Island to serve out his time. We start the game being walked to his cell. Phew, such a veiny chest.
You hear what this one did?
I don't want to know, and you know when
He beat his ex-wife to a bloody pulp. Killed her with his fists.
Look, I said I didn't...
Then he drowned one son in the tub and threw the other out a window. Don't ask me to cry for him.
Inmate, is this true?
Oh, he won't say. Claims he blacked the whole thing out. A likely story. The needle's too good for him. Filthy inmate. They should all die.
Whoa there, boyo, calm yourself. I'm only 2 minutes into the game and I'm already being berated. To be honest, the prisoners aren't much better.
Don't you know who that is?
Why should I?
That's Torque, the man himself. Word is he sheared half the Aryan Brotherhood over at Easton.
So fucking what? I can understand a guy killing his old lady, but he popped his kids too. Motherfucker deserves to be strapped down and dosed.
You believe what the COs tell you, Slick? You don't know shit about the man. I'm telling you, what I heard, he's all right.
That cocksucker's not going to be all right for long if he's in the row with the rest of us short-timers.
Shut your cracker ass, Goose. Man's due respect. You show him respect.
I decide who I respect, shit boy!
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Neighbor. Nice to meet you. My name's Floyd. How long you got to your turn on the table, huh?
Best not to listen to him talk. Floyd's a degenerate parasite. They should have slapped the cuffs on him coming out of his mama's
At least
tongue.
I know Jesus is with me, man. Whatever I've done, the Reverend says Jesus has forgiven me.
Will you shut the fuck up, you baby-raping, sodomizing sack of shit!
Ooh, that escalated really quickly. How long into the game are we? Like 5 minutes? Right, let's check off my list. Okay, let's see. C-word, check. Racism, check. Baby raping, check. Then after the blackout, all the prisoners and some of the guards are killed, and we get to control Torque. Now while we have a moment, let's talk about Torque's design. The creators say they wanted to create a more open to interpretation protagonist that has sort of a Neanderthal look, but I'm getting more of an Elvis Presley vibe myself. Though I think the overarching theme we should take from Torque is that he is a quintessential badass, and shortly after the prisoners attacked by horrific hordes of creatures known as the, well I guess the enemies. I mean they're not given a particular name, so I'll just call them Ickies. The controls are quite standard for nowadays, but back then they were more solid than most. Torque can jump, interact with lockers, buttons, cameras and items, check maps, use grenades, and even go from third to first person. This is a really cool feature as both work really well and don't trip over each other when put into practice. It's not long after we get out of our cell that we encounter our first enemy.
Thank God I made it into the light. I think I'm safe in the light. You've got to get me out of here!
Whoa, 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 this is a brand new vest, man, god damn it. Right, back off to the Gap to get a new one, I suppose. The enemies in this game are really well designed, but not too difficult to kill. For example, here's my first fight with the basic shiv weapon. Well, that was easy. Another awesome feature is one of the first morality systems in gaming that I can think of. As you play the game, you'll meet other inmates and guards with which you can either kill or befriend. Befriending them can help you pass tricky parts of the game, but at the trade-off of having to watch their backs, use more ammo, and usually use yourself as a human shield to save them. Talk does this thing where you'll hear his wife represent the right thing to do, and a demon-esque voice represent the bad.
I heard the government's been conducting experiments on us inmates. Next phase of MK Ultra, if you can believe that shit. Now it's turned into the mother of all clusterfucks.
He needs your protection.
He's a parasite.
The atmosphere in this game is fantastic. Sure, it's really dark and hard to see, but you're soon given a flashlight to see better. The sound design is brilliant and feels claustrophobic and raw. The radio transmissions add context and tension, and the exploration is really fun. This happens a lot.
Hey!
The environment is also crammed with ammo, health items and batteries for your flashlight, so you'll rarely be worse off than usual. At first the controls take getting used to, but the main thing about this horror game is the horror is clearly not as focal as the action parts. Talk easily guns down large group clusters of enemies and guards alike, and you'll be hard pressed to struggle unless you're playing on impossible mode. Holy shit, even when Talk's opening lockers, he needs to look like a badass. Hey, can I help you? You don't look too good in there. Is there a panel? Oh, there's a panel here. I can't open that. Oh no, he's dead. Oh well. Then on the next level we find our antagonists for the game, Hermes, Horace and Dr. Killjoy. And this game has a really strong roster of adversaries that embellish forms of execution, which is a really unique way of making character design. Hermes was poisoned, Horace was put in the electric chair, and Killjoy was actually I don't know about him. But the main enemies also carry this trait. Slayers were decapitated, marksmen were members of the World War II firing squad, mainliners were injected with drugs, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, we also find out that Talk has a demonic version of himself which he unleashes with the so-called insanity mode, which does this. This ability is essentially the press to overkill button, and whilst it's active you can destroy any threat in the game with exception to most boss battles. Now as I mentioned earlier, you can team up with various NPCs during the game to bolster your firepower. This in practice works really well, but there is a massive downside, and that's the dialogue repetition.
I can't see shit in here! After what they did to Byron. Bring the ruckus, motherfucker. That one, fuck yeah! Fuck that one, fuck yeah!
That's it, you mother... I'm kicking your ass! You loud, stupid asshole! That's what I'll kill you! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
The checkpoints are horrible in this game. It's one of those old-time video game traits most of us grown up with in the 90s will remember. If you don't save occasionally during a mission, there's a good chance you'll be kicked 10 to 15 minutes back in the game to get back to where you were. I think I broke the game. Yeah, time to reload the checkpoint. Oh, great.
Sup, Chico? Long time no see.
Not long enough, I think. Dallas, you got cojones. You show your dirty face in front of me?
Whatever, man. Stop tripping. It's fucking chaos. We just gotta bust out of here.
Well, you think I forget, hombre? You and Byron thought you could hide that shit from me? Nobody sells meth, or crank, or H, or Sherm, or nothing in Abbott unless Chico gets a taste. You thought you could play Chico for a fool, eh? Play me like a fucking bitch.
You gotta rat up your ass about some old news, man. Things are different now.
I don't think so, pendejo. You fuck me once, you fuck me again. See?
You better stay out of this. It's no good for you. Mild racism.
I just realised the batteries of my torch are huge. How the hell does this thing last like 2 minutes a pop? The batteries are massive. On the subject of batteries, one thing that really affected my playthrough was the level design. I kept reviewing my map and getting lost, and seeing as the game is so dark, you eat up a lot of batteries. And if you don't know where to go and you review every nook and cranny of the map, it gets really difficult to figure out where to go. However, if you try to save everyone you come up against, they can be a massive pain to save or just incredibly stupid.
Yo, bro! Over here! Over here! Thanks, bro! Hey, I hope you make it out too!
No worries, buddy. Now, let's see, do I jump over here?
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
Has the devil trapped you? You're not a bad man. You have to believe.
Well, wouldn't feel like a horror game without some creepy girls, would it? At this point in the game, you'll be facing most of the enemy types in the game, and the problem is, even though they're really unique and fun enemies to face originally, the game spams them in large numbers. Therefore, what begins as a twisted struggle to survive becomes a spammy mess of the same enemies over and over again, using up all of your ammo. Oh, and for some reason the game decides to do this all the time. They do make you jump the first couple of times they happen, but they're really cheap. I saw in excess of probably 100 of these in the game, and the effect drastically lessened with time. However, the flashes of the past events in Torque's life are really cool, and even bleed into the reality you're living in Carnate Island. Ah, the sewer level. Everyone's least favourite level in every video game. Hold on, is that supposed to be in the water? I mean, it could be, but it doesn't seem to fit for me. I mean, it looks kind of like binary. The boss fights are really good for the most part. The first is your generic nasty cop Hargrave, and he's armed with a machine gun turret.
My prisoners never make it out alive.
Brutality.
Then you face off against the really interesting Dr. Killjoy, wherein you need to destroy his projectors to keep him from respawning his minions. Next is Horace, who's a neat idea but in practice is a bit lame. Jump and relax. Jump, relax. Jump, shoot panel, relax. Next is Hermes, who's interesting but the timing for the final blow has rubbish timing. Then finally we fight a doppelganger version of Torque in both his forms and this thing. Is that Torque as an umbilical cord? Ugh. So here we use these dark orbs of matter or something to hit him, and then we finally escape the island. Now the cool thing here is that the game has 3 endings. I managed to get the best one for helping everyone out.
Sends his regards. Back in Eastern, he warned you, but you didn't listen. He said to leave you alive. Only you. Enjoy your new life.
However, there's also a neutral ending.
We need to talk. The boys need to be with their mother. Don't be that way. You weren't a good father, not in jail. I won't let them grow up violent. They will not be like you. What's going on? Where did you... Mom! You monster! I'll show you. You took her away. I'm taking us away.
And a bad ending.
T, is that you? It's so nice to see you again, T. What's the matter? No!
That is brutal. The game also has some cool extras like the behind the scenes of the game, a documentary about a haunted prison, notes on the environment and creatures, and even a trailer for PsyOps. Soon. You even get a prequel level for the game, which ties in as the boat ride before entering the prison. However, it's really short as you get attacked in the holding area, then go mental? Okay.
I still believe in you.
So yeah, that was The Suffering, a game that's over 10 years old and was actually quite an industry standout even back then. And it's kind of a shame that this game has been forgotten over time, and it's probably due to the fact that Midway Games closed down. But honestly, even though it's 10 years old, and it can be a bit repetitive, and it can be a little bit kind of, well, boring after a little while of playing, I still really enjoyed this game overall. It had a lot of guts to it, so to speak. And although this game isn't as scary as something like, I don't know, Outlast, it still has a lot of charm to it, and to be honest, I really love the environment and the actual assets in the game. The enemies were really cool, and the gameplay mechanics worked really well, and I didn't find really any glitches or problems apart from pacing. So, really well made game with a lot of passion into it. They even made a sequel called The Ties That Bind, but I haven't actually played that one. So if you do have a spare bit of income, you can probably pick this up on places like Amazon and eBay. I think I got this for about a $5 second hand. But the problem is that there were digital copies of this game, but there's nothing on Steam that I've found, and it seems very difficult to get a game like this in the digital market. And to be honest, I think if this was remade, it would be a really good game. Is it scary? Not really, but compared to everything else at the time, it was pretty much the scary game of the time. And although it's very action heavy, it may not stand up to things like Outlast or Amnesia, but even so, I think this game is definitely worth a try. So if you're up to it, I suggest you delve into the madness and insanity that is The Suffering.
Hey there guys, thanks very much for watching the entirety of this video. If you're here at this point, you're amazing. It took a long while to make this video, and I tried to get it just before Halloween, so I think it worked out pretty well. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, you might enjoy the ones below. We've got Raise as Hell and Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear being a first-person horror game I made as like a little mini-series for Halloween, and Raise as Hell being the last of this current series, in case you liked this one and wanted to see what else I've done with it. However, if you do have the time, please let someone know or like and subscribe. It always helps my channel to have more people giving feedback and telling me what they think, and also the exposure really is best done at the ground level with you guys, so that when you find something cool, then it gets spread by that word. I mean, I don't like advertising, I don't like the ways that a lot of people spam YouTube pages and you know, forum. So if you have the time just to click a few buttons for me, that'd be really cool, because it helps me a lot. Because I'm not a big YouTuber, I don't have a lot of exposure, so anything you can do to help is really appreciated. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.